It was the kind of biting winter morning that slid beneath your jacket, soaked through your sweater, and settled into your bones like a sorrow you'd never quite shaken. Snow fell in lazy, unpredictable spirals across the cracked sidewalks of a sleepy suburb just outside of Chicago, cloaking everything in a pale hush as if the world had pressed pause for a moment. Caleb Dunn's aging pickup let out a groan before rattling to life. The exhaust coughing like it, too, was exhausted from another night of sub-zero temperatures. Caleb, 34, a single dad with rough, work-worn hands and eyes that still held a softness despite the hard miles, had just dropped his daughter, Lila, off at school. She was 6 years old with a wild braid he'd twisted together that morning after watching 3 different video tutorials and fumbling through 2 failed attempts. She'd kissed his cheek before she jumped out, her mitten-covered hands tugging at his beard as she giggled. "Don't forget pizza lunch today. You promised $1 for extra cheese." He'd smiled, like everything was fine. But it wasn't. The rent was 4 days overdue. The fridge held more hope than food. He was still waiting on a call back from a second-shift warehouse job, the kind that might let him stop choosing between keeping the lights on and putting gas in the truck. He was trying to calculate whether he could stretch the tank another week when he saw it, a black Mercedes parked at an awkward angle just past the gas station. Steam curled from under the hood like smoke signals. Standing beside it, arms folded tight around herself in a camel-colored cashmere coat, was a woman who looked like she'd made a wrong turn out of a lifestyle magazine. Not from around here. Not in that car. Not in those heels. And definitely not in that coat. Most people would have kept driving. Caleb thought about it, too. He didn't have time to play hero. But something tugged at him, and he pulled over. "Need a hand?" he asked as he stepped out, rubbing his palms on his jeans. The woman turned, startled. Her face was polished, guarded. "I called roadside assistance 30 minutes ago," she replied, her voice clipped and elegant. "Well," Caleb said with a shrug, "I'm not a mechanic, but I've done my share of limping old engines along." She hesitated, then moved aside as he leaned under the hood. "If you can get it started," she said, "I'll owe you." "Let's not get ahead of ourselves," he said with a grin. "Let's see if we can wake it up." 10 minutes later, the engine grumbled, then roared to life. Caleb took a step back, brushing snow off his jacket. "You actually fixed it," she said, eyes wide. "More like gave a bandage. You want a mechanic to look at the fuel line." She stared at him, trying to read what kind of man stopped to help strangers with nothing to gain. "Why'd you stop?" she asked. "You don't even know me." "You look like you needed help," he said simply. "That's all I needed to know." Her eyes dropped for a moment to the silver ring on his left hand. "You're married?" "No," he said quietly. "Widowed. Lila's mom passed 2 years ago. I wear the ring because, well, some people leave a mark that doesn't fade." "I'm sorry," she said, and meant it. "It's hard," he nodded. "But she gave me Lila. Every day, I try to be a man she'd be proud of." She extended her hand. "I'm Vivian Maddox." He blinked. "Wait, Vivian Maddox? Maddox Global? The logistics tech giant." She laughed softly. "Guilty." "Well," he said, chuckling, "this story just took a turn." She tilted her head. "You helped me without knowing who I was. That doesn't happen often. Being decent shouldn't require a resume." Vivian studied him a beat longer, then pulled a sleek business card from her wallet. "Call me. Not to say thank you. For something better. I run a program for single parents. We train, place, and support people in logistics and tech. People who show up. Like you." Caleb stared at the card like it might vanish. "This is real." "So is your character," she replied. "We need more people like you in this world." 2 months later, Caleb stood on a stage in a crisp gray suit that still felt like it belonged to someone else. He held Lila's hand as applause rippled across the auditorium. A certificate from the Maddox Foundation's Fast Track program was placed in his hand. In the front row, Vivian beamed. "Daddy," Lila whispered, eyes sparkling. "Mom would be so proud." He knelt and hugged her tight. "She'd be proud of both of us." What began as a quick stop on a frozen roadside had become something so much larger. A ripple turned into a wave. Backstage, Vivian waited with 2 cups of cocoa. "You did it," she said, handing one to Lila. Caleb rubbed the back of his neck. I didn't think I'd make it. Some nights I barely slept. We saw, she said gently, every late-night login, every last-minute assignment. But you kept going. It wasn't just for me. I kept thinking about Lila, about being the kind of man she could believe in. Vivian looked down at the little girl, now humming to herself, boots swinging off the bench. You've already given her that, she said. A man in a dark suit approached. Ms. Maddox, we're ready for the next presentation. She turned to Caleb. Come with me. He blinked. Me? I want you on stage. Real stories matter. I don't know what I'd say. Say yes, she smiled. And speak from the heart. Someone out there needs it. Lila tugged his sleeve. Go, Daddy. So he did. Vivian introduced him not as a graduate, but as an example. This man reminded me what leadership truly looks like, she told the crowd. Not by running a company, but by never quitting on his child. Caleb took the microphone, glanced at Lila waiting in the wings, and spoke. I'm just a guy who stopped to help, he began. But that moment helped me, too. The room leaned in. Sometimes, the road back to hope starts on the shoulder next to a broken-down car, next to someone who sees more in you than you see in yourself. We all get lost, but nobody's too small to matter. And kindness? Kindness is never wasted. The applause wasn't thunderous, but it was deeply real. As he stepped down, Vivian caught his arm. We're expanding, she said. I want you to lead community outreach. You mean, me? I don't give jobs out of gratitude. I offer them to people who belong. And you belong. For the first time in a long time, Caleb didn't feel like he was surviving. He felt like he was growing into something new. That night, he and Lila walked home through softly falling snow. They passed the corner bakery, just locking up. Any chocolate croissants left? Caleb asked. The girl behind the counter grinned. Last in the house. I can't accept that. I saw your speech tonight, she said. You're making a difference. On a cold bench outside, they shared the warm pastries. Daddy, Lila asked between bites, are we rich now? He laughed. Not yet, kiddo. But we're more than okay. And we're going to be even better. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Do you think Mom can see us? He looked up, blinking fast. I think she never stopped. His phone buzzed. A message from Vivian. The board loved your speech. Call me tomorrow. Big plans ahead. He looked at Lila and smiled. You know what's funny? What? Fixing that car? It didn't seem like much, but I think it changed everything. She nodded. Sometimes little things are really big things wearing tiny coats. He chuckled. That's pretty smart for a 6-year-old. I had a good teacher. They sat together in the quiet, letting the snow gather around their feet. Not rushing, not wishing for more. The next morning, sunlight slipped through the blinds, warming the apartment. Caleb woke up before his alarm for the first time in years. He brewed coffee, stared at the crayon drawing on the fridge hem. Lila, and a woman with angel wings above the man, touched the paper softly. Then he picked up the phone. Vivian Maddox speaking. It's Caleb. You mentioned big plans? I did. Are you free this morning? He looked at the clock. Give me an hour. By the time Lila was at school, Caleb had traded his hoodie for a button-down shirt and rode the train into the city. The Maddox Foundation headquarters towered above him. He was ushered into a glass-walled conference room. Vivian stood at the center, flanked by smiling board members. Everyone, she said, meet Caleb Dunn. Not just a graduate. The future of what we're building. He paused at the doorway. I thought this was a meeting. It is. With your new team. She handed him a folder inside, a job offer. A salary that made his chest tighten. I don't even have a degree, he whispered. But you never quit, someone said. That's leadership. That night, when he picked up Lila from school, she jumped into his arms. I got a new job, he said. A big one. Can I still draw you pictures? I'll need lots of them now. Every morning, Caleb wore a badge that read Director of Community Outreach. People greeted him with handshakes, not sympathy. He didn't pretend to have all the answers. But he had one thing that mattered. He had been there. At the community center workshop, he faced 24 single parents, many skeptical. I know you're tired, he said. I know some of you walked here, skipped meals to get here. But your story doesn't end where it's hard. It begins where you decide it will. A woman in the back raised a hand. What if no one's ever given you a shot? Caleb smiled. Then you take your shot. And when someone does see you, you say yes. That night, as he tucked Lila into bed, she asked softly, "Are you happy now?" Caleb looked at her, then out the window where snow dusted the fire escape. "I am," he said, "because I said yes."